the four-wheel steering systems which these cars run, which is a bump steer system, they'll be running them as aggressively as they can, because they want the rear to turn the car to be kinder to the front wheel. So it's how they can get the front of the car into the corners without the thing stepping sideways. And so you could see a few hairy moments in the opening laps, but you know, with Katzberg, as we saw then, it's almost wanting to rotate without him turning the wheels. Quinquamar up to third.
Yeah, it's Lopez, Huff, Mar, Tarquini fourth, Van Lagen fifth. So in the top five, we've got 2 Citroens, 2 Ladas and a Honda.
3 marks in the top 4.
Yeah.
Let's just remind everyone of the weights for this weekend. The Lada is on 0 kilograms, but then the next car, the next manufacturer, is on 50 kilograms. A 50 kilo difference between the Lada and the Chevrolet. And then Honda and Citroen are on full 60 kilos. They're both as heavy as each other. And this has normally been a good track for Honda. Slovakia, I think Tarquini won 3 years ago and 2 years ago in a Honda. But this year, at 60 kilos, the same as the Citroen, it's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, Ben, I think it could be a long weekend for the Honda and the Chevy guys. So
well,
never say never.
Yeah, at the moment, Gabriel is only a second away, and Mar is 9/10 away from Lopez. Rob Huff second is 7/10 away from Lopez. The thing that the Citroen and the Chevy have here, which is not in their favour, but which will really score high points next week, is a long wheelbase stable car. You know, oh, Tom Coronel, that's why he was going so slowly. He's found the Lopez Muller gravel trap.
That's extinct 3.
Yeah, is that out of 3? That is understeer central there.
No, that's not out of 3.
That is.
Or is that?
10, 6, 7.
No, I'm going to say that's
6.
3. Yeah, it's 3.
Is it?
Timing screens confirm. So he's outbraked himself over the brow of the hill.
Yes, which is very easy, isn't it? You know, you pop over the brow and then you need to be on the brakes almost on the brow.
There's almost a good escape road down there he could have used, but obviously thought he could still get round the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Cold tyres, warm tyres. One of those.
Here you are, down into 2.
Wonderful thing about this circuit is there's no catch fencing around it whatsoever. So you can go all the way around it, and you can almost be touching the cars. You can see the cars. There's no catch fencing, just the Armco barrier, because there is so much gravel trap and runoff area around most parts of the track.
Yeah.
And also there is an oval, as you were implying. So at turn 3, he could have gone straight on, and he found himself at the end of turn 13, and he could have gone straight to the pits.
Oval?
Well, it's got a little, yeah, it's like a tri-oval.
Tri-oval, there you go.
It's a Rockingham.
Catch fencing, Ben. That's Woodcote, circa 1979. I'm not sure they call it catch fencing anymore.
Okay, what's the
debris fencing, spectator fencing, all of that stuff. But catch fencing is wooden poles with chicken wire on the outside of a corner instead of a gravel trap.
Obviously showing my age, Martin.
Well, yes, you know, stuff your dad talks about. I don't need to tell you to ask your dad. He's obviously taught you. But get that rip in your jeans sewed up, by the way.
Here's Muller down into 3. I think he's going for no, he's Tarquini. Yeah, I was just looking where Muller was. I think he's trying to go for. He was giving Lada a quick flash in front of him because he was on a quick lap. But
there's Gabrielli. The onboard picture did say we were with Muller. From the bumper cam, it's hard to tell because obviously you don't see much of the car looking out front.
Oh, you see the back of that hopping then?
Well, but you know, from the very moment they introduced the very first Civic, we always said, oh, look at the way the back hops on that car. That looks like a handful.
That was like a kangaroo.
It was.
I noticed there's 3 horrible bumps in the braking zone as they come off of the tunnel there. So I guess that was accentuating the look. But we've always said that the rear end looks very nervous on that.
Yeah.
It's almost like...
Which is sort of what you want, just, you know, not quite so much, maybe. And you know, the cold winter has definitely got to that little braking area because it is very bouncy, but the Citroen just there went over it with not quite so much drama, I have to say. So anyway, I mean, the point about the long wheelbase that I was almost making before is that the longer your wheelbase is, the more stable your car is, and the less likely it is to like turning left, right, left, right. Now, a Paul Ricard next week, full-on Grand Prix circuit, big long radius corners, very fast long straights. Citroën, if they're not 1, 2, 3, 4 in both races, need to have a good long hard look at themselves, because there'll be something going on, because that is just tailor-made from them. Tom Chilton avoids the barriers, but has managed to go really quite a... Blimey O'Reilly. That's a long, long way off at turn 1. Left puncture, yeah, left front flat. Just went bang as he hit the brakes.
Max load into the tyre.
Yeah, nothing there at all.
Interesting.
Roof cam view just shows, and he's got no steering either. It just went bang, instant deflation. And you talked about the stones, Matt, and you have to say that is very likely a result of that. Now, it doesn't seem to be flat at the top. Is it only flat at the bottom?
It's gravity. the air goes to the top.
Now, so
you know, the car looks relatively unscathed, but that'll have done a few £1,000s worth of damage.
Yeah.
Those splitters aren't cheap.
You're going to need another one of those gorgeous Team Dynamics rims.
Unfortunately, must have been his problem. He isn't on the Team Dynamics.
He's not on a Dynamics rim. That's what happens. That's what happens. He goes to the dark side.
Now, what is prevalent here is this circuit is, as we've mentioned, is so hard on tyres. You know, the drivers seem to get one lap. Now, yesterday, when one clear lap, where it's the fresh rubber gives you that little bit extra, but yesterday in free practice, they sort of tyres were free, so they could chuck a couple of sets if they wanted, or not, or use tyres or scrub tyres. But today, as we're into a controlled environment, they've got to be ever so sparing with the laps they're doing, and exactly the work process they've got to get through to sort of get the maximum out of the car, because they want a car that's going to last the distance, but also qualifying is going to be critical, especially getting into the top 10.
I mean, one of the troubles for Néstor Girolami is learning the car, learning the circuit, yada, 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 but also learning the tyre, how to really... And this is the deal, you know, you go out in qualifying, you've got one hot lap on the tyre when it will be absolutely performing at its best, and then the next lap you'll be getting on for half a second off, even if the lap is exactly the same as the previous one. So he's got to somehow find what the level of grip is before he goes out on that fresh tyre for the very first lap, and that's going to be really hard. So he's not going to qualify the way that maybe he'll be able to race. And the other thing, of course, is he'll get into race one having, frankly, no idea where you overtake here and where you can't, because he's never raced on this track. So that's all the stuff you learn in racing that you don't learn in free practice and qualifying. Free practice and qualifying about trying to get the last few hundreds, or possibly the last seconds, out of your car. And then you get into the race, and then you've got to work out where it is that you can actually try and pass people if you've not qualified, you know, in the position that your car justifies.
But Martin, he's doing a fantastic job. Look at the times now. P9.
No question at all about it.
And he's 2/10 off Tarquini, who is the fastest Honda. He's faster than Mikelic. He's in the top 10. And this is the first weekend he's been in a Honda. Yep. Remember, he did test a Lada, did one day of testing at Budapest, the day that Rob Huff had that big accident after the Budapest weekend. He was within a couple of tenths of Huffy's fastest time as well. Oh, that's a new contraption that...
yeah, they've got a hook on an iPad. Right. Oh, so they've got Wi-Fi. Oh, right, I see the way it is.
Well, Ben, they said that about Lopez, didn't they? That, I mean, what shocked them is the speed he could learn at and process. And, you know, if Girolami is half the man or equal to the man, and they all say he's as good, if not better than Lopez, then we can expect pretty much the same of him. And, you know, he's showing pretty well so far.
I'm talking to Pachito about the difference last year between these cars and the TC2000 cars. He said, you know, in Argentina, you've got this big V8 out front, produced about 400 horsepower, front-wheel drive car. And he said, you just sit there on the lot going, wait, 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 wait. Now I can straighten it up. Now I can look at the engine. And he said, these cars are just much more of a racing car. The ones in Argentina are much more of an iron fist in a velvet glove, if you like. These cars have got a lot more finesse, a lot more balance. they're not comprehensively overpowered like the ones in Argentina. So the biggest problem in Argentina is keeping your tyres alive with a 400 horsepower V8 sitting over the front wheels, desperately trying to, you know, control that horsepower. He said, you know, keeping the tyres alive is very hard.
Which is going to be a critical factor here, Martin.
Yeah.
So if that's what he's good at, then that could really pay him good dividends here.
Absolutely right. Gregoire, yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Do you remember what, I was about to reference exactly what you're going to reference. Do you remember what Coronel was saying at dinner last night about Gregoire de Moustier? Coronel P17, de Moustier 15, and he's being bugged on circuit. He won't like that.
Yeah. Well, for de Moustier, it's good, actually, to follow somebody around like Tom, who's got experience of the track, who knows the car well, and who can drive. And so for a young guy like de Moustier, Gregoire's sponsorship platform allows him to have all the new upgrades from RML as they come in. And this week, that includes more changes to the suspension, which is all going to sort of add to the car. But of course, you know, we've said this before so many times, you know, you could give it to me and it won't be going quickly. What you need to do is have the driver get on top of the car. And, you know, Gregoire is young, he's new to this form of racing, he's new to this kind of car. And so following Coronel around is a great opportunity to just try and follow his line. You know, we've all done it, haven't we? When we've gone out with either no knowledge of the track or whatever, and hooked on the back of somebody who comes past you, and then desperately try and keep with them so you can see where it is that they are driving and where you can find speed. And for any young driver, I think, to learn from somebody's experience as Coronel is not only no embarrassment, it's absolutely vital. You've got to learn from a guy who knows what he's doing in the same car as you, otherwise, where are you going to learn? 5 minutes remaining, and there is the Lada pit wall. You have to say it looks a fairly confident place at the moment. The car's newly homologated or rehomologated suspension looks as though it's working a lot better and is a lot tougher than it was previously. And the car certainly is coming on in development now. You know, at the beginning of the season, the first car was built, the second and third shells were being assembled in Argentina, which is hardly ideal, and from then on you barely see your bed, never mind your workshop, as you get from Argentina into the European Series. So Hungary was the first time they'd actually had a couple of days where they could go out and test things on the car. And, you know, all of that, just even that tiny little amount of testing, just allows them to polish what is, it seems, a diamond in the rough, because they do seem to be able to kind of finesse up a few things and try different options, Matt, and sort of rule stuff out that they might otherwise have wasted a practice session on, and then sort of focus on where they discover the performance is coming from.
Yeah, if he's on, I was just about to say he's trying this lap, so that might have...
a little bit of an interesting line through that sequence.
Caused him to abandon it, but he was definitely trying to push hard, explore the limits of whatever they've changed on the car during the session. He might finish the lap just to get the data, because as you cross the line, it will seal the data off.
Well, listen, from all three cars, every single lap is vital. You must be out there testing what it is that you're testing and pushing as hard as you possibly can to try and get something. Yeah, and actually I think Katsburg could be quite a revelation. I was very pleased to see Jaap van Lagen back in the squad, not just because he knows them and they know him from his previous time in the team in the old cars with James Thompson, but also because he's just, you know, he's come in from a different form of racing, from all sorts of different categories he's raced in over the last couple of years, like Nicky Katsburg, and that brings in different ideas. And something that works on a Megane or on a GT3 car, you know, you say, well, how about if we try this? And it just helps them by putting different ideas in that are coming from outside of, you know, the World Touring Car, you know, thought bubble. Then you never know. That can often lead to little moments of inspiration. Well, you know, in desperation we tried this, and suddenly we found that the car loved it, and so, you know, that's now our go-to setup. And when you've got a couple of young chargers who've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by going quickly, like Van Lagen and especially like Katsburg, I think, you know, that can really help the team.
Yeah, these track limits, there's a certain key corners here, turn 1, turn 3, turn 12, turn 13, where exit speed is absolutely critical because you've got such long straights thereafter. That's why we see some of the drivers exploring the track limits boundaries, should I say, and running as wide as possible, because the momentum, if they can carry 0.1 of a mile an hour out of those corners, it's going to save them masses of time down the next straight.
Well, the deal, of course, is that you're always going to be going faster on the straights than you are in the corners. So you need to sometimes sacrifice your speed into a corner when you've finished your braking episodes to get maximum speed out of it and down the following straight. And so, yeah, when you come into turn 3, essentially you're setting yourself up for the exit from turn 12 to turn 13. Now, that's a lot of twiddly stuff in between, but the critical bit is the back straight coming back towards the final couple of corners, because that's the long fast bit here. You go over the brow and then come all the way down here as you're watching Sebastian Loeb. And so all of that twisty intermediate stuff, you don't want to give speed away, but in the end, you don't want to be slow onto the straight, or slower than you could be. And the same with the final corners, 13 and 14. It's all about the run down the front straight and into turn 1, and then over this brow and up to turn 2.
Yeah, just approaching turn 2 with Muller now over the crest, completely blind. Does he have... Oh, he just cut away to see if he was going to lift.
We preserved his modesty there.
We'll save that for qualifying.
Yeah. Lopez and Huff, Mar and Van Lagen. So it's Citroën, Lauda, Citroën, Lauda. Then the Hondas of Tarquini and Michaelis. Then Ivan Muller, who's clearly in cruising around mode, 1.1 off the pace and working on something. Then Thiago Montero, Tom Chilton, or Captain Gravel Trap, as we'll call him this morning. And in 10th place now is Nestor Girolami in the Nika Racing Honda, the blue and dark blue car. Nicky Katzberg 11th, Mehdi Benani 12th. And then outside the top 12 at the moment, Hugo Vallant, Sebastian Loeb, Grégoire Dumoustier, Stefano D'Aste, Tom Coronel, John Philippi and Matt Tohomola. So those are the running orders at the moment, as you see.
I think that running order is really accentuating this tyre situation we have this weekend. You need to get the lap in on the best of your tyres, and as soon as you lap more than one lap on those tyres, as these guys are doing in practice, they'll keep the tyres on most of the session. You just don't have the performance that you would do before. So we just saw Jaap van Lagen go out on a different set of tyres, not new, but he went out on a different set, banged in a faster lap. Muller went a little bit faster, so up to P7, but someone like Loeb, for instance, down in 14th, Benani 12th, in a car that is World Championship pace, and they just don't seem to have anything in it. I think that's down to the tyres and tyres alone.
Yeah, or alternatively, of course, not necessarily for Benani, but for the 3 factory Total Citroën racing cars, they will, you would imagine, have a different setup on each of the 3 cars, and then the engineers will sit down in the debrief afterwards. They'll talk to the drivers, get their opinions of them, and then they go, okay, set up on Loeb's car, right, we'll bin that because that was rubbish. Set up on Ivan's car, okay, maybe we'll look at moving that in a different way for FP2. Jose Maria, that seems to be a setup that works well, so if the other guys want to try that out, then they can as well. And that's what practice is all about, isn't it? You want to try 3 different options on 3 different cars, and then in FP2, maybe give everybody a variation of the best setup that should suit them and their driving needs and their driving style.
But also with the circuit being so hard on the tyres, and with only a limited number of 3 sets of new tyres, and really got 3 qualifying sessions, you know, 1, 2 and 3, they're going to want to save their fresh rubber for when it counts. So a lot of this is going to be trying to find out what they've got, where they've got it, and where they need it with the older rubber, and in anticipation of when they get the fresh extra grip. So, you know, I think the times are going to tumble a fair bit as we go through maybe not FP2, but as we get into qualifying, we're going to see a definite jump, and we're going to see different guys appear at the top of the order.
Matt, am I right in saying that with the weight of the cars this weekend, that's only going to accentuate the problem further?
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the regulations where they have to put the weight, but for sure, weight it hits you in every direction. It increases the load on the braking, and hence the brakes, so the stopping power of the car, acceleration, the car's just a little bit more lazy, but the lateral load that's putting into the tyre, it's harder, it's tougher to get the the car into the corner, and it's harder to get it out. You know, it's just more wearing on every aspect. That's why it's, you know, it's hard to put. Yeah, very good, well done, P1 again. But it's hard to explain it to the person how much weight is such a critical thing. You know, if you cost people horsepower, you take boost off them or put an extra restrict on them, it's just straight line. With weight, it's everywhere it affects you.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, Van Lagen, you saw there, Jose Maria Lopez debriefing with his engineer. Norby bails out. Should be a big crowd in from Hungary here as ever. Not too far to come across the border to Slovakia.
Funny gear lever he had on that car. It looks quite painful.
A big,
not nice,
golf ball
smooth
gear knob.
Well, it was, yeah, ribbed.
Yeah.
Alex would.
So, moving on. Lopez, Huff, and Ma, your top three. You can see the other time scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Thiago Monteiro closing up notably on this lap on Mehdi Benani. Thiago 8th fastest. Chatting to him last night about Le Mans. He was racing there last weekend in a Bicoles prototype, which in the end, he was saying they brought a new aero package with the car to Le Mans that hadn't raced before, and he said, frankly, it feels like it's trying to kill us. It was really, really, really intimidating early in practice. They managed to tame the car and kind of dial out some of its nastiness. I said, so the car didn't get you then? He said, no. And then it tried not to finish the race, but they managed to force it to. I said, yeah, unfortunately, didn't do enough laps. He said, yeah, so we weren't classified as the finishers. I said, yeah, then you know you're excluded as well. He said, oh, no, what? The car didn't do enough laps to be classified as a finisher, and it was then thrown out in post-race tech because it was underweight anyway. So to add insult to injury, it was altogether not the best of race weekends for the team. However, always nice to go back to Le Mans, he said, and always good to remind people that you're still there and you can drive prototypes as well as touring cars. This little look there at the mechanic working on Huffy's steering as he comes in. Well, let's hear from our fastest man, Jose Maria Lopez. He's with Alex.
Yep, he certainly was fastest man. Great result as always. What's it like out there?
It was good. I'm very happy. Was a little bit worried after yesterday. I couldn't find the pace, but I have a great team. I have a great group of people working and looking for the car. Yesterday I did a mistake. I went off, so it was good to be back on form. I still a long way to go, but I will try to use this to my favor, to try to work a bit more and try to at least try to improve.
Yeah, we saw you go off yesterday into the gravel. Today we've seen the same for Chile. Is it pretty slippery out there?
Yes, it's a very difficult corner. You load the car and you touch the brake where the car is loaded a lot on the left side, so the rear tends to go quite quickly. I think when you go off, it's the same for everyone. You go a little bit wider in the exit of turn 5 and you touch the curb, and then if the car moves, you have the gravel. So. It's a mistake for me from yesterday. Mistake you learn from it and you try to do your best. And the good thing is that today we're back on form and we will see. I think Huff is looking very strong as well.
Thanks.
Huff is looking very strong, and we'll have to wait and see exactly how strong that car ends up being. But the Lada looking quick, and we saw how well it fared 2 weeks ago. I was going to say last week, but last week, of course, we're in Le Mans. 2 weeks ago in Moscow, another track with lots of changes of direction, and it's that going left to right that the shorter wheelbase cars, and that's the Honda and that's the Lada especially, are going to like more. As I said, both of them will struggle, I think, frankly, in terms of the pace of the Citroën. I think everybody's going to struggle in terms of the pace of the Citroën next week when we go to the Grand Prix circuit at Paul Ricard. It's not the full Grand Prix circuit, actually. We turn after the first chicane almost immediately right, just cut off the bottom loop, but it's still a long Mistral straight, and Senior a real hang-on, flat out in top gear corner, and that's really going to suit the Citroëns. Well, that's free practice 1 done, dusted and in the box. So we will join you again for free practice 2. Now that starts at midday Central European time, or Western European time, it really ought to be, although we're sort of fringing into Central Europe now. So midday, which is 1000 hours Greenwich Mean Time. Wherever you are, join us please. We'll be back with all the action from Matt, from me, from Ben and from Alex and the rest of the crew here at the Slovakiaring. Bye for now.